In this next section, I wanted to chat with you about some of the tools that you might want to use. So it doesn't matter if you're doing Firestop special inspection or if you're doing just a quality control review. You want to make sure that certain things are being done right. In order to do that, you'll need certain tools. So in this session, I'm going to share a couple of the tools that I use, and a little further on, I'm going to give you a couple of secrets, okay? So let's get started with some of the basics. Now, you're obviously going to need some sort of a measuring mechanism, whether you use a big heavy tape measure or a little tiny one that you might pay $10 for. It doesn't really matter. All that matters is that you're capable of measuring things such as the annular space, or if you're doing destructive sampling, you might need to measure the sealant depth. Some people prefer to use calipers for things like that, but this is a choice that you're going to have to make, and the more experience you have with the different tools, the more you'll know exactly what you personally prefer to use. Then I can't walk onto a job site without some sort of a cutting mechanism. I prefer to use a pocket knife. I know some people that use box cutters. Personally, box cutters just don't work for me. They're just not strong enough when you're cutting into Firestop. I also highly recommend that you have something that has a locking mechanism. This particular knife locks right here where this pulls to the side and allows the knife to close like this. But when it's locked out, it won't accidentally collapse on you. I've had knives that collapse and I've come pretty close to cutting my hands. So safety is super important. Knives are not super safe. So make sure that you have gloves, especially if that's part of your standard operating procedures from a safety standpoint. Make sure that there's a locking mechanism. And this particular knife, I have to give a huge shout out to Tom and Sandra because they gave me this knife and they will love this story. So if you see right here, you can see my name on this knife. I had some SOB on a project who saw my knife laying around and picked it up. And then when I confronted him and I said, "Hey man, that's my knife." And he's like, "No, it's not." I said, "Yeah, if you open the blade, you'll see Firestop all over it." He's like, "Yeah, I do too on my blade. See, it has Firestop on it." I said, "Yeah, that blade happens to have my name on it." So I got my knife back. Thank you, Tom and Sandra. Anyways, you don't have to have a personalized knife, but please make sure that you're being safe on your project. Hang tight and I'll give you a couple more tricks that I like to use when I'm doing special inspection.